Hey everybody, welcome back to another VGC Series 12 video, where today, well, I'm fad chasing, shamelessly, I'm sorry. We're shilling for views today, but that's okay, you know, it doesn't mean we can't have a good time, right? So today, I'm going to rank all of the restricted Pokemon in the context of Series 12. It's kind of weird to rank them, I feel like, because so many restricteds really only exist in the context of other restricteds. If that makes sense, because since you can have two on each team, like, it's pretty, I don't know. I guess we'll explore that as we go along. As always, everybody, if you like the video, please leave me a like, leave me a comment, tell me what you think about the rankings, tell me if you think anything doesn't belong where it ends up at the end of the video here. If you are not subscribed, a lot of my viewers are not subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. We're getting really close to 300 subscribers. I know I've been saying that every video for the last like week or something like that, you know, but I really would like to to hit 300 subscribers. I'm thinking about remaking my very first ever video here on YouTube. It's still up if you want to go watch it. The top 10 most freaking adorable Pokemon. If you want to see that at 300 subscribers, let me know in the comments and help me get there. And I'll remake it for you guys, and I'll make it the best possible video it can possibly be, and we'll have a great time. Anyway, let's rank these restricted Pokemon. So first up we have Mewtwo. Man, Mewtwo is kind of bad, right? It doesn't do anything that you can't do with any of the other restricteds, and it's pure Psychic type, which is kind of, I don't know, there's a lot of Dark and Ghost getting thrown around, and like Incineroar exists, and yeah, I think it's gonna have to go in D. I think it's gonna have to go in D, because like, I'm sure you could do something with it, but you'd be making a team, you'd be making something weird, right? And I feel the same way about Lugia. Lugia at least has a niche. You can like just run like weakness policy, fling, whatever, and you can do it, but that's a lot of hoops to jump through to get a good Pokemon. And you'll still get one shot by Zacian because you're gonna break your own multi-scale. And that's really the weirdest thing about Lugia, is in order to be good with it, you have to break your own multi-scale, and then it's weak again. I don't know. Does that make sense to you guys? That makes sense to me. So those are both going down in D. Psychic is just not a very good type to be, unless you're also hitting some other kind of weakness, if that makes sense. Next up, we got Ho-Oh. I think, you know, I'm gonna put Ho-Oh in C. I know Ho-Oh is like never like actually good. It was good in Series 10 for, you know, like 2 weeks until people decided that Entei was better. But I think you could make like a Groudon Ho-Oh team, and you could probably get away with it. You get speed control for the Groudon. You get something that deals with like grass types, something that deals with Zacian. I don't know. It sounds okay. It resists a lot of the restricteds down here. But the existence of Kyogre just really makes it hard to play. And the existence of just, you know, everything running Rock Slide makes it hard to play. But I think you could get away with it if you really wanted to. Now, Kyogre, you know, if you asked me at the beginning of the series what I thought the most splashable restricted was, or you asked me like when it was announced, I would say Zacian, right? Because you can just toss it with any restricted. But you know, I really think the most splashable restricted is Kyogre, because it sets its own rain and then it just does things. Like, you don't really need anything else to support it except maybe Tailwind, and a lot of teams run one Tailwind anyway. Gosh, my words are not coming out right. A lot of teams really want to run Tailwind anyway. So like, it's just so good. It's so splash. I'm running it on a Trick Room team, and like slow Kyogre is good, fast Kyogre is good. You can run it with Specs, Life Orb. You can just run Mystic Water. Like, I don't know. I truly think that Kyogre is the most splashable restricted mon, and it's not just for the pun that it's water type. As for Groudon, I really think that I don't think Groudon itself is good so much as the things that it enables. Since you can have two restricteds on your team, Groudon automatically becomes the best Sunsetter, and people are still running Torkoal, right? Like, I still see Zacian Kyogre teams with Torkoal on them. Like, it's crazy. But if you're not already running two restricteds, Groudon automatically becomes the best Sun Pokemon. And it just enables a lot of stuff, and that's why Groudon's good. It's not so much that Groudon itself is great. Like, it's good. You can Swords Dance, you can get the, you know, the Rock Slides off, the Precipice Blades off, but it's not great. It just enables a lot of things that make it look really good. Now, Rayquaza. A lot of Restricteds are made better just by the virtue of you can run them next to Zacian. I think I'm going to put Rayquaza in C. I think if you ran Rayquaza like next to something that could help deal with like Fairy types, Ice types, which would be Zacian, you could probably get away with it. What would the set be? I have no idea. It's not Mega Ray, unfortunately. I really do think they should just give Rayquaza the Strong Winds as an ability, but like a nerf version of it, where Strong Winds is just a regular weather and Rayquaza is the only setter. But that's on me. Or that's neither here nor there. That's not a thing. But Airlock can be good because, you know, we know how good Rain and Sun are. So Airlock is a good ability, and since you can run 2 Restricted, you can really afford to run Rayquaza like just for Airlock if you want to. But I don't know. Yeah, it feels like it's in a weird place. There's a lot of Intimidate. Next up is Dialga. I really think the Dialga is probably better than Ho-Oh and Rayquaza. But is it as good as Groudon? I'm gonna put it in C, but at the top of C, because I think it could be in B if somebody like figures it out, because Dialga's really bulky. It's Steel type. It can't be intimidated. Just every time that I've ever used that Dialga, it's let me down. So I'm gonna put it in C, and that's really the only reason. Like, every time I've used Dialga, it hasn't been good for me, but every time I faced Dialga, it's the scariest thing ever. Yeah, I think that's fair. It has a lot of things going for it, but it doesn't have. It's like just barely doesn't have enough going for it. I'm gonna put Palkia above that. Palkia gets to be above because it 4 times resists. Okay, so they do a lot of similar things, right? They both resist they both resist Kyogre. They both resist Zacian, but Palkia gets a pass because it also isn't weak to Groudon. It isn't weak to fighting. It is a little weaker because now every Zacian runs Play Rough. Fun fact for everybody. Maybe I'll make a tips and tricks video next or soon. But every Zacian's running Play Rough, so that does hurt Palkia a little bit. But like, if you get the speed control, like you probably just one-shot it with Max Geyser or something. So I think B is fair for Palkia. Giratina, man, I don't hate Giratina, but it just doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? I think they feel about as good as Rayquaza, right? Man, I should have made more tiers. I'm gonna say Origin form here and Altered form here. I think that's what I'm gonna say. Cause like I prefer to run like Weakness Policy Giratina, which means you don't get Grizzly's Orb, but Levitate's a really strong ability. It can let you switch in on things that this form can't necessarily switch in on, and it's easier to make this form a special attacker and just do like special attack things, which will help you against stuff like Incineroar, which is a really good mon in the format. So I think that's what I'm gonna go with. I think Reshiram. I think it can do work. I'm gonna put it here. I think it's better than. So I think it fills a very similar role to Ho-Oh, but I think it's better than Ho-Oh. I hope that makes sense. It just hits a lot harder. It's a special attacker. You can run it in the sun just like Ho-Oh. And I think it gets like dual wing beats. So, like, you could run Max Airstream if you really want to. It just feels better, if that makes sense. Zekrom, on the other hand, I think is going to go down here in C. Zekrom in a lot of ways is very similar to Rayquaza, right? So it can deal with Kyogre. It can deal with, gosh, the electric type stab just hits a lot of things for neutral, and that's really good. And that's basically all that you can do with Zekrom. Oh, poor child. Poor Kyurem Black. Kyurem just feels bad all the time. It's the problem with both Kyurems. Like, Kyurem White's better because they have, like, basically the same move coverage. But Kyurem Black just gets one-shot by Zacian, and there isn't a whole lot you can do about it. I know people use it, and they run, you know, their Power Herb, Free Shock, whatever, but I just thought it's not Meteor Beam. You know what I mean? It's not Meteor Beam, and it doesn't feel worth it. I'm going to put Kyurem White in the same... I'm going to put Kyurem White in C. Am I? Hold on. I'm going to put Kyurem White at the top of D, because it's better than... I'm going to put both of them higher up in D, I think. And then I'll put Giratina higher than Mewtwo, and Lugia higher than Mewtwo. I'm so sorry, Mewtwo. You're not the worst restricted, I promise, but oh, you're pretty bad. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, there. They both hit so hard. Like, they have massive attacking stats, but they don't do enough. They're not fast enough. They don't one-shot any of the steel type restricteds without getting one shot back, and that's really the problem. That's really the problem, and there's going to be a lot of steel type restricteds because they all go good with Kyogre. Wow, nothing is an A yet. That's crazy. Stuff will be an A, don't worry. You go here. If these ones aren't good enough, you're not going to be good enough. Xerneas, oh man. I think I'm going to put Xerneas in C because it's still very threatening. Like, it can still set up on you, and if you let it set up on you, like, it'll absolutely run away with the game. But it just isn't good with Dynamax. There's so many steel type restricteds that I feel like they released just because of Xerneas. The 2 steel types this gen, a steel type last gen, 2 steel types last gen. Like, I feel like they released a bunch of steel type restricteds just for Xerneas, and it's Dynamax that killed it and not any of those things, which is really, really funny. But, you know, Zacian is basically on every team because you can run it next to any other restricted mon. So it's just, it doesn't do enough. And with Dynamax, like, you have to take a turn to set up, and your opponent who Dynamaxes does not. So it's just a lot harder to get away with. Yveltal goes in A. I think it's super splashable. Maybe not as splashable as Kyogre or, like, Zacian, but I think you could probably get away with running it on almost any team. It's just so bulky, and it hits so hard. Just because of the ability Dark Aura. It's really cool. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. It counters Calyrex really well. It can counter Lunala if that ever becomes a thing. It counters Solgaleo, Necrozma Duskmane. It really only doesn't want to fight Zacian because Zacian will just Behemoth Blade into it and one-shot it anyway, even though you're super bulky. But it's just a pain to get off the field if you don't have the tools to deal with it, and that's why it's so good. It does what Dialga wants to do, but better. It has Sucker Punch. I've seen some Zygarde hype, but I don't know if it's actually good or if people are just hyping it up. I need to test Zygarde myself because I love Zygarde. Is this gonna feel bad? Do I want to put Zygarde in B? Oh man, am I hyped for Zygarde? I kind of am. I'm gonna put Zygarde in B. That feels weird. Okay, but hear me out. Zygarde with the support of any other restricted next to it is so good because they will target down your other restricted, and you will just get Zygarde set up and just sweep things. And that's really what I'm feeling. You can run it with You can actually run it with Zamazenta for coaching shenanigans, which is really, really cool. I don't know, it just feels better in the context of this format that it has in any other, because you're not giving your whole strategy to setting Zygarde up. Like, you can have a backup plan, and that's what I like, I think. Giga, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but, like, I don't know what you do with these. Giga keeps telling me, like, you just skill swap Shadow Tag onto it and you just let it sit there, but no. I don't want to play Perish Trap Cosmoem. Nobody does. It's not going to work. I'm sorry. Solgaleo. I think... What do I think about Solgaleo? I think it can go to B. I think it's in B here. And I think you can run Solgaleo very similarly to how people were running it in Series 8. I think you could just run, like, Bulldoze shenanigans, Bulldoze weakness polish shenanigans, and then have, like, Kyogre in the back to sweep later. Like, I really, really think that's probably a viable strategy. Maybe I'll explore it later, but I've played so many bulky Steel-type restricteds in the past, like, they have burned me, so we'll see. Lunala... Lunala doesn't feel bad. I think I'm going to put Lunala at the very top of C tier. I think it's going to be better than Dialga in time. It's going to be really good like later in the format when things are bulkier and you need to like have a more bulky, reliable thing. Not to say Calyrex is ever going to go away, but what Lunala is it's basically really bulky Calyrex, but it doesn't have Astral Barrage. And that's good. That's a good thing. So I think like later on in the format it might move up, but I'm going to put it at the top of C for now because right now the format's a little too aggressive for it to really shine. I'm going to put Necrozma Duskmane. I'm going to put it... It's about even with Dialga, I think. It's a lot harder to get set up because you need Trick Room, and Trick Room does not come easily all the time in this format, if that makes sense. This one is just objectively worse Lunala. It's going to go in D. I think it's going to go here in D. I think it might be better than Giratina, but I don't know. With Calyrex running around and like Giratina probably one-shots it, to be honest. I'm going to put it there. Here. Yes. It's not great. It's not like awful, but it's not good. It's just objectively worse Lunala. I love Prism Armor. I think, you know, Prism Armor filter, stuff like that's really cool. But Shadow Shield is just an objectively better ability. Lunala's faster. The bulk really doesn't matter that much when you have Shadow Shield, like the difference in bulk. So I think it's just not nearly as good as Lunala. You are just bad. I don't know. Fusion Pokemon have been so big for like 3 generations now, and I don't get it, honestly. Zacian obviously is S tier. Zacian's just really good. It's always been really good. It's never been bad. There's no way to make Zacian bad. I don't really need to explain it any more than that. It hits really hard with the Behemoth Blade, and it can go next to literally any restricted you want, and it'll work. It works with anything. Zamazenta. I'm gonna, you know... Hot take, maybe. Maybe not. I'm gonna put Zamazenta here. I'm gonna put it above Solgaleo. I think having the support restricted might be good now. Now, it might be a couple months before people really figure out how to make Zamazenta work because we had never really used it in this kind of way before. You know, it might not be good until Worlds. But I think Zamazenta is gonna be good at some point. So I think it deserves that spot. Eternatus is really interesting because it kind of... Theoretically, it fills a similar role to Zacian and Zamazenta. Like, they do the same thing. You hit double on Dynamax Mons, and you can't Dynamax, right? But the format as a whole is a lot less friendly to something that's Dragon Poison. But I think just because you can run another restricted that can max next to it, and like people have won games with it in Series 11, in Series 8, I think I'm going to put it at the end of B tier here. I think that's a good place for it. And that's not to say, you know, putting these Pokemon in B and C tier, it doesn't really say much about these Pokemon. It says more about these Pokemon. These Pokemon up here are so good, and they've spent so much time trying to figure out how to nerf them. Since they're really not Zacian. Zacian exists to nerf Xerneas, which I think is just really funny. It feels like its whole existence is just to make Xerneas irrelevant, and it doesn't even do that without Dynamax, so... You go here. You're good. I think they're about even, to be honest with you. Right now, anyway. I've been playing Calyrex Ice Rider, and the thing about it is that you have a very reliable Trick Room because you're very hard to KO with like a spread move, and you can just run like, you know, Redirection Neck to whatever. And then so many things are weak to ice. Like Groudon's weak to ice. Everything you run with Groudon is weak to ice. It's crazy. Yveltal's weak to ice. Palkia's not weak to ice, but it really doesn't want to take Glacial Lance. This is 4 times weak to ice. This is weak to ice. This is weak to ice. Like, the ice coverage just hits so many things that it's hard to say, like, it'll ever be bad. It's just a really aggressive and bulky Pokemon, and that's why it's so good. And it can set up Trick Room for itself. So, same kind of thing with this. I don't think it feels less good, but I also used it actually on the video that I released today, because I'm recording a day in advance for this one, because I'm not going to be able to record tomorrow morning before work. I thought this felt bad, but I used it today and it was so good, and I guess you just need to get it in the right kind of team, because it's still really aggressive and really fast, and it existing just pushes the speed tiers like up really high. Like, I know Regieleki does, but since there's so much, because you can't plan to outspeed Regieleki a lot of the time, so you just plan to outspeed Calyrex Shadow, and like its existence just makes the format as a whole so much faster. It makes things like Palkia want to run Trick Room instead of being max speed. And Palkia's speed tier is not bad. It's the same as Charizard. That's kind of the example I give you. I would give you for that. Like, base 100 is a good speed tier, and things that are base 100 want to run Trick Room because Calyrex Shadow is too fast and hits too hard. And then you go here. But you're probably better than these. You go at the top. It can do something. It has Leech Seed. It has Ally Switch, right? You can do something with it. That's the tier list. What do you guys think? Do I want to move anything? How do I feel? Do I look stupid? Do any of these Pokemon look stupid where they are? These are definitely S. I think these are definitely A. I think Groudon and B is fair, and it's the top of B. That's really fair. Like, it's gonna be on a lot of teams, but only because it enables things. I think Palkia is about as good as Groudon. I kind of want to move. I want to move you. You can go here. I think Zygarde just hits so much for weakness, and like it's so much easier to set up right now. I think it could be a genuinely viable team archetype. I think this is it. Alright, yeah. That's the tier list, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Tell me if I'm stupid. So go ahead and tell me that Mewtwo is the best restricted, because, you know. And you could build a team with anything that's D up if you really wanted to, and you like really put the work into it. I'm not saying that like anything is impossible to build with. You know me, I made a Crystal team and it was good. But I'm just saying, like, generally, for like getting into the format and trying to understand what it's about, you should probably start with the stuff that's up here to learn what you're doing before you try and get into stuff down here and try to find niches for them. I know a lot of people don't do that way, but since about Series 10, that's how I've been building my teams, is I learn the format with something easy, and then I'll get into something crazy later on. And then, you know, hopefully it works out for me. I'm doing pretty good. I'm top, I think I'm like top 50 on the ladder right now. I'm like 57 or something like that, maybe higher. I'll put it on the screen if I remember right here. But yeah, that's the video, guys. If you liked it, leave a like, leave me a comment, tell me what you think. Subscribe, please. This video is actually, wow, like 25 minutes long. If you're not subscribed, you watched all the way through, what are you doing? Obviously you saw something you liked. Anyway, my name's Andrew, and I will catch you guys next time.